The rain hammered Detroit that night like it wanted to drive every lonely soul further into the ground, each icy drop rattling the cracked window of that basement apartment where Hannah Sullivan sat hunched, clutching an eviction notice as if her grip could change the words. 15 days to vacate, 3 months overdue. She read it again and again, her light brown hair plastered to her cheeks from the walk home, her gray eyes heavy from nights without sleep. A week ago, she lost her third job in 6 months, her manager dismissing her with barely a glance. "You're too slow, we need quick thinkers." And that phrase cut deeper than he could imagine because Hannah had heard it all her life. Not good enough, never enough. Orphaned at 8, shuffled through foster homes that taught her to be grateful, to never expect much. Gratitude never filled an empty stomach or replaced the sense of being wanted. And now, with no money, no lights, and no one left, Hannah thought maybe they'd been right all along. Maybe she didn't deserve better. The phone broke the silence, jolting her back. Monica, the one friend she had, a fiery Puerto Rican woman working as a housekeeper in Telluride, chirped on the other end. "Hun, I've got news. The guy next door needs someone to clean, watch his baby, room and board included." Hannah hesitated, confessed she'd once dreamed of being a fashion designer, not a nanny. But Monica pressed. "You've survived everything life threw at you. Girl, this is nothing." And when Hannah hung up, she stared at the peeling paint of that room, the broken floorboards, the fridge holding nothing but spoiled milk, and she knew the truth. Life doesn't wait. She pulled out her old sewing kit, scraps of fabric from a dream she'd buried years ago, then pushed it back under the bed. "Send me the address," she finally whispered. And just like that, she was on a bus winding through snow-draped pines toward a mansion that looked more like a painting than a home. The house was grand, stone walls, burgundy curtains, polished wood floors, yet hollow in its silence. Mrs. Langford, the stern but fair housekeeper, explained the rules: stay quiet, stay efficient, never enter Mr. Whitmore's library. Then Hannah saw him. Caleb Whitmore, 37, tall, broad-shouldered, CEO of a booming sustainable tech company, carrying his 9-month-old daughter Sophie against his chest. His voice was clipped, his gray-blue eyes unreadable. "I ask only for silence and efficiency," he said, and vanished down the hall. That night the wind howled. The other nanny fell sick, and Mrs. Langford left for the hospital, leaving Hannah alone with Sophie. The baby cried endlessly until Hannah, desperate, cradled her by the fire, whispering, "I know this feeling, sweetheart. I cried like this too, alone." She hummed an old orphanage lullaby until Sophie's sobs slowed, her tiny hand curling into Hannah's shirt. Hannah drifted asleep with Sophie on her chest, both wrapped in a single blanket. And when Caleb returned near midnight, snow on his coat, he stopped dead in his tracks. There on the rug lay his daughter, peaceful in the arms of a woman who looked as though she'd carried that child her whole life. Caleb didn't wake them. He simply laid another blanket over them, and something inside him cracked open, a longing he hadn't felt in years. After that night, Caleb's gaze lingered. At breakfast when Hannah poured coffee, in the library where she dusted shelves, in the kitchen where she sewed quietly. One afternoon, he asked if she liked reading, and when she admitted she loved romance novels because they gave the broken ones the ending they deserved, he left a book, Persuasion, on her pillow without a note. And slowly, something unnamed grew between them. Not passion, not yet, but recognition. Then one morning Caleb called her into his study, sunlight filtering across stacks of papers. He explained he was building an app for single mothers, real support, not corporate gloss, and he needed her input. Hannah stammered she wasn't qualified, no degree, no experience. Caleb looked at her steadily. "But you have something better. You know what it's like not to be heard." For the first time in her life, someone asked for her voice, and it terrified her, but she said yes. Soon she was joining virtual meetings, offering insights. Keep the layout simple, add anonymous chat, because moms would be multitasking on old phones while holding babies. And the engineers listened. They thanked her. They adjusted. For Hannah, that was everything. But life rarely plays smooth. One snowy afternoon, Hannah carried laundry past Caleb's study and froze at the sound of a woman's voice, low and warm. Through the cracked door, she saw Rachel Monroe, beautiful, confident, holding Sophie in her arms. "I just missed her," Rachel whispered. "I missed you." Caleb stood silent, and Hannah's heart shattered. She left a note that night, thanking him for letting her feel like she mattered, then walked away without waiting for morning, suitcase in hand, snow crunching beneath her boots. She ended up in Portland, renting a tiny room with a window over green trees. She unpacked her sewing kit and began stitching again, at first just to remind herself she still had hands, still had a heartbeat. Soon she opened a small stall at the weekend craft fair, Thread and Grace, selling embroidered cloths, tote bags, little handmade pieces that carried her soul. Customers smiled. An old woman told her she sewed like someone from another time. And for once Hannah felt she belonged to something she'd built herself. She even started therapy, unraveling memories one by one, learning that leaving didn't mean losing. It meant choosing. Months later, at the fair, as autumn sunlight spilled like silk, a voice behind her said her name. Hannah turned, and there was Caleb, worn but steady, carrying the weight of regret. Since she'd left, the mansion had become a shell. Sophie cried at night. Nothing soothed her. Caleb had replayed every moment, realizing what he lost wasn't a nanny or a collaborator, but the only person who had ever seen him without asking for proof. He'd dismantled contracts, fought his board, declared the app would be built for people like Hannah or not at all. Now here he was, not to beg for the past, but to ask for a beginning. "I lost you," he said, "and only then did I realize I never truly had anything without you." She asked calmly, "Why now?" And he answered, "Because the past isn't what I need. It's you." Hannah didn't say yes right away, but she didn't walk away either. They began again, tentatively, strangers relearning each other. They built the app together, read to Sophie together, walked Portland's market side by side. And one spring morning, Caleb knelt not with a diamond, but with a ring of embroidered fabric, her own art turned into a vow. "I choose you." Hannah said yes, and the market erupted in cheers. Their wedding was simple, neighbors and music, but it felt like the universe had finally chosen her back. Months later, in their sunlit home, plants in the corners, sketches on the walls, Hannah was pregnant again, Thread and Grace thriving, Caleb's app helping millions worldwide. One morning Sophie, now 3, asked, "Mommy, why do you smile when no one's talking?" Hannah looked at her husband, her child, and her growing belly, then whispered, "Because I remember having nothing, and now I have everything." And for a woman who once thought she was just passing through other people's lives, that was the truest ending. Or maybe, just maybe, the truest beginning. Now I'll leave it to you. Was Hannah right to give Caleb another chance after all that? Or should she have stayed on her own path in Portland? Tell me what you think, because I know this ending will stir some debate.